Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these numbers while we run the headlines here. We got the UK relationship with Ripple and XRP, Digital Chamber of Commerce, the Center of Bank Hearing Committee, and the Agriculture Committee, and everything that you need to know about every bit of it. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. It's all there. Give us a follow for exclusive content. 1,008,000,000,000 is where the market cap for crypto is. Download that Coin Paprika app. Shout out to them. Bitcoin right now, 19,800 plus. Ethereum, a few bucks over 1,500. XRP's at the number 7 spot at 32 cents this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't checked out Masterworks, it's your chance to invest in some of the finest art in the world, the way the richest people have been doing for decades upon decades, especially in uncertain times like we are in right now. Don't be afraid to use the asset class comparison, whether it's the U.S. housing market, corporate bonds, gold, or the S&P 500, when you want to take a look at the different artists' work and how they pair up against those different asset class comparisons. And click the link underneath and try it for yourself. I tell you, it's pretty remarkable. I love it. Now, this right here is a thread from Crypto Insight UK. Watch out for him and I doing a TikTok, not too far in the distant future here. This is an excellent thread on the relationship between Ripple, XRP, and the UK. And we start here understanding that Ripple has been a real partner with the Bank of England since 2017, and he highlights that with the proof of concept we've covered here many, many times. He goes on to say that it focused on all those references that you could search and find, 156 references on the Bank of England's website when it comes to Ripple. The real-time gross settlement system, RTGS. It could be interlinked with Ripple's technology. Ripple's solution showed promise in enabling RTGS systems, which seamlessly support interoperability globally. Bank of England selected Ripple to participate in their FinTech Accelerator. The goal of this test was to showcase the synchronized movement of two different currencies across two different RTGS systems. So you have that as well. Next, we have the Ripple's involvement with the Digital Pound Foundation. For those of you not aware, the goal of the Digital Pound Foundation is to bring the public and private sectors together to develop, design, and help adoption in the digital pound. It is important to note that Ripple are one of the founding members of the Digital Pound Foundation. And more importantly, Ripple's head of policy, Susan Friedman, former U.S. Treasury official, is the chair of the foundation. And then here is April 4th, 2022. There was a live talk, which we cover parts of here, of the Secretary of Treasury, John Glenn, UK, on the steps the UK is taking to become a global hub for crypto asset technology. I remember when we covered that. A statement reiterated the Digital Pound Foundation within the last 24 hours. It said here, as well as the government's plan to make the UK the global home of crypto investment. So there's a real goal there from the country itself and not just certain participants. Two key takeaways from Glenn's speech in there was the implementation of a regulatory sandbox for crypto at the start of next year, 2023. Could the UK one day issue a debt instrument using distributed ledger technology? The second is a statement I want to explore that excites him greatly. He says here, XRP Ledger harnesses DLT, distributed ledger technology. So this leads me to speculate with what we've learned above. Is the UK looking to issue sovereign debt on the XRP ledger at some point soon? And we've had many conversations about this idea. The UK debt currently sits at 1.95 trillion pounds. That's something to think about, and it's certainly speculation, but it is absolutely worth speculating. My ears pricked up when the relation to this topic was when I was watching Ripple's new CBDC advert. The central bank can issue other assets and allow participants like commercial banks to do so. Again, we are wild speculators, but this is super interesting. And it is. Understanding where XRP fits in the new world of CBDCs, it says here, key takeaways, central banks can issue currency and other assets. That's where the question comes in. Instant settlement on the XRP ledger, elimination of debt risk. XRP is interoperable, designed to bridge currency. We know this. So now we get a bit more speculative, but there have been a lot of interesting events happening in the UK with Ripple. Chris Larsen, if you remember, co-founder, visited Ripple and spoke to Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, to help create Silicon London, just like Silicon Valley, right? Next, we had this strange moment that took place where Chris took himself off and resigned as the director of Ripple in the UK. Maybe he'll be advising some other conflict of interest. And this was not directly from the company Ripple itself. It was from a division of this company in Europe, right? So important to understand that part as well. We cleared that up when the news came out originally. But he says, my speculation would be that Chris may be doing some work with the Bank of England. This is, of course, super speculative now. This is Dilip Rao said landed at Tube Station closest to Ripple's offices in London, also to the Bank of England, of course. And that was just obviously showing the connection there. I also want to mention that the partnership between University College London and Ripple, they joint published an article in Real World Enterprise Applications of Digital Assets. Here's a clip of that. I'm just moving to put all these pieces together. One final note I'd like to add here before I sum this thread up is the biggest speculation of all is Matt Hancock has this week discussed a potential need for benefits of central bank digital currencies in terms of cross-border payments. And that's this clip here. Now, I'm not going to play that because, I mean, we all get it. And the fact that they're asking for it has to mean, what will we use as a bridge in between it? Because look, for anyone out there going, well, why don't they just do it back and forth with nothing in between it? They could, but all you've done at that point is really digitize the problem in the paper world to the digital world, right? That's the problem. No one wants to hold anybody else's money, especially understanding that there is some kind of a correction coming globally to this economy. Finally, Ripple are having their annual Swell event in London, November 16th, 17th. This is odd to me, as previously been in San Francisco. They did have a London event during COVID, though. It was mostly not physically attended. It was on web, right? So we'll see what goes on there. But a great thread right here. Normally, Ripple announced something big at these events. What are these? What are the odds that something out of Bank of England may come? We don't know. Wholesale digital pound, sovereign debt. Makes sense to use the XRP ledger. XRP is a neutral or bridge asset, right? You tell me. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't think you're crazy. I think you're a speculator. I think a lot of people would like to suggest that we're crazy because we speculate, but you know what? I don't. I appreciate your speculation, and I look forward to more of it. And we look forward to the Swell event in November, too, to see what it gleans. This right here takes no speculation at all, however. This is Lily Tesler from Sidley Law, who filed the actual amicus brief in Ripple versus SEC for the Digital Chamber of Commerce. Listen to what she says right here.
Hi, my name is Lily Tesler. I'm a partner with Sidley Austin, and I'm glad to have filed on September 14th an amicus brief on behalf of the Chamber of Digital Commerce in the SEC versus Ripple case. This is a pivotal case where the Chamber has decided to weigh in and ensure that the court is aware of the existing legal precedent in the area as it applies to investment contracts, and also remind the court that there may not be legal precedent and maybe issues of first impression that they're facing with in making decisions in this case and others in the Southern District of New York. One of the key distinctions that the brief, among others, makes is that the investment contract test under the long settled law in Howey relates to the investment contract, not the underlying asset that's a subject to that investment contract. In Howey, that was oranges. In today's world, those are digital assets. The law is unsettled as to what applies to digital assets. And the brief provides a roadmap for the courts and even those in the general industry to follow in areas that may require more guidance through legislative action or regulatory action by the SEC. There's a number of different guidelines that the industry can follow and look to in this case and those to follow. It also follows on some of the precedent that the Chamber weighed in on in the SEC versus Telegram case, and in the same court reminds them that this is an evolving regulatory environment that the court needs to be mindful of as they're setting new legal precedent in an emerging area.
And there you have that. And we do look forward to hearing more from them and her. And this today was where we start and go through this material, what we have for you here. This is the hearing at the Senate Banking Committee. Now, there was 2 hearings that went on today. I had to pick one. And I picked this one. And I got to be honest. I want to say something polite. And I'm having trouble. Gary Gensler doubles down on the majority of cryptos are securities here. I don't need to play this clip for you so you can hear it. However, I do want to play a piece of this clip from Senator Lummis here, or Lummis, I should say. Doesn't see an avenue by the end of the year for crypto and the Lummis-Gillibrand bill, but intends to reintroduce the bill in January. Let me cue this up for you. Okay, here it is. If you've just eaten, try to hold it down. Don't try to vomit.
I want you to know that Senator Gillibrand and I want to continue to work with you and your staff to make sure that, to the extent that we don't philosophically disagree, that any of those sorts of gaps that you have identified in our bill can be addressed, because I don't see our bill having an avenue to come before this committee or the Congress before the end of the year. But we do intend to have it, to reintroduce it in January.
You know what's interesting about this conversation? She's talking to him like he's writing the damn bill in the legislation. I got to tell you, somebody needs to get her something to wipe her nose off. And then we have this, and you can keep the hanky in your pocket on this one. Senator Toomey is the only one that showed some stones here today and continually called out Gary Gensler for everything that he has done from that agency chair at the SEC in overreaching from ESG to crypto. And I'm going to give you a piece of that now. Let's take a listen. Okay, so the clip I'm going to play to you now is actually Senator Toomey actually pinning down Gary Gensler on exactly what is decentralization at the SEC and what isn't. And at what point does it become or not become either one of those things? And I tell you, Gary Gensler really can't answer the question. Take a listen.
Of that common enterprise.
Right. So I guess another way to put my question, which you haven't answered, is it possible to have a common enterprise if it's something is decentralized? How could I have a common enterprise? I mean, it doesn't isn't centralization necessary to constitute a common enterprise?
You could have some things that are quite open, but still have, if the public is anticipating a profit based upon that common enterprise. So I'm being careful with my words here to be accurate as best I can. The common enterprise, are you relying on a group of individuals? And look, these are not laundromat tokens. There is a group of people that are actually... You're not answering my question, though. But so let me try it this way. What is it about Bitcoin that causes you to conclude it is not a security? Well, one is there's no group of individuals in the middle.
Right, it's decentralized.
There's no group of individuals in the middle.
Right.
That are basically, and you're not, in essence, the investing public's not betting on somebody in the middle or 6 people in the middle.
So you're choosing not to use the term decentralized, but that's what you're describing. It is the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, I think, is really what you're getting at. Here's my point, and I'm going to run out of time here. But there are a lot of projects, as you know, decentralization and centralization occurs on a continuum, really, I think. And you've acknowledged that there are tokens, plural, that are not securities. I think it's because of this centralization that you come to this conclusion. And my point is, it is not reasonable to fail to provide clarity, to provide the definition of exactly where on this continuum you have a sufficient common enterprise that it qualifies as a security and where you don't. You've said Bitcoin doesn't. Some of your colleagues have said Ethereum doesn't. But a reasonable developer who wants to comply with this doesn't know where that line is drawn.
And what an amazing point that is. And it is absolutely true. The problem I have with everybody sitting in this committee is why are we not talking about the Department of Homeland Security? Because they actually interviewed the 4 people that centrally created Bitcoin, and actually one or all 4 of them have access to that Bitcoin wallet that Satoshi has with more than 1 million Bitcoin in it. And why do we not have that public disclosure, Gary? Then there's this, where Senator Toomey doubles down and lays it down and says what he needs to say here. Listen to this quick clip here.
So I think the problem is that the SEC isn't sharing with us the framework that they're using. Gary Gensler famously argues that virtually all crypto tokens are securities. I think reasonable people can disagree with that. He would exempt Bitcoin from that classification, but pretty much everything else he says is a security. But then he doesn't go on to say how we would apply the existing frameworks that we use to regulate securities issuance and trading to a very, very new and very different technology where some of these things don't fit, right? Custody rules, clearance rules, these things don't have any application. And he hasn't provided any clarity on that. I think actually Congress should step in and provide some guidance. I think crypto is sufficiently different, even if you want to argue that these tokens are securities. You go ahead and make the argument, but you can't dispute that they're very different from a stock or a bond, and therefore Congress ought to step in and provide a framework. I'm working on that. That's going to be really hard to get done. In the meantime, Chairman Gensler owes us much more clarity on how and why he intends to apply SEC regulations.
It really is true. And shout out to Senator Toomey, who I understand is also retiring after this term ends as well. So God only knows who's going to pick up the baton, but this is Danelle Dixon from the Stellar Foundation. Shout out to you, Danelle, and everything that you're doing for crypto. And she testified in front of the Agriculture Committee, and this is what she had to say before doing so. Take a listen.
Hi, everyone. I'm coming to you live from our nation's capital before testifying in front of the Senate Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee on the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act, or the DCCPA. I realize that was a mouthful, so let me take a minute to answer a few questions that might have crossed your mind. What does crypto have to do with agriculture? The Senate Agriculture Committee has jurisdiction over the Commodities Future Trading Commission, or the CFTC. So Senator Stabenow from Michigan and Senator Bozeman from Arkansas worked together and, importantly, worked across the aisle on legislation to give the CFTC the authority they need to oversee digital commodities. So what is the DCCPA? It's a lot of things, but most noteworthy is the power it gives to the CFTC to create and enforce rules for digital commodities. The agency has a long history with exchanges to trade new innovative products, so it's uniquely positioned to take on this work. It already regulates some of the digital asset markets because it regulates digital asset futures markets. Also addresses vital topics like consumer protection, education, and energy, and calls for the CFTC to do some homework on these topics and develop plans on how best to approach them with industry. So what does SDF think of the DCCPA? We think it's a great step forward, and here are a few reasons why. First, more clarity is always good. It will help the industry understand how the government is going to engage with this new space and how we should be engaging with the government. Second, I believe it will bring more financial players and traditional players to the table and more people to our products and services. And it helps us at a critical stage of growth. And finally, it gives an important nod that stablecoins are in fact commodities, a topic we care a great deal about, and an assertion both the Treasury Department and SDF agrees with.
That's a big statement, what she just said there, that stablecoins are in fact commodities. Very big, because we know the World Bank and many others have suggested that Stellar, XLM, and Ripple's XRP, or XRP, are in fact stable coins according to places like the World Bank, right? Very important to note.
But there's definitely room for improvement. We'd love to see more clarity on the distinction between a digital commodity and a security, a key question that still hasn't been answered. Overall, a more empowered CFTC will give all of us, the consumers and the industry, a better understanding of the path forward with respect to DC.
I certainly hope so, and shout out to Danelle for making the video. I want to say right here, this is from CoinDesk about testifying in front of the Senate Agriculture Committee. CFTC head chair Rostin Benham says his agency is getting ready to take on the role as chief regulator, crypto regulator in the United States. If we go into this, I still have to make the point. However, it wouldn't let the agency define which tokens it would police, still giving the courts and the SEC leeway to figure out which assets would be defined as SEC regulated securities. Still, Rostin Benham praised the legislation and its plan for additional agencies to funding to allow the CFTC to move swiftly to establish new oversight over the digital commodity assets, which the courts, lawmakers, and regulators concede includes Bitcoin, though other asset status are less clear. All digital commodity platforms must maintain adequate financial, operational, managerial resources, segregate customer funds, and comply with commission requirements for the treatment of customer assets, Rostin Benham said. These tools have proven effective in preserving customer funds in market operations in times of instability, uncertainty, and market misconduct. The Senate panel only has sway over the CFTC, and the Stabenow-Boozman bill stuck in that jurisdiction. Unlike the other efforts that have sought more sweeping regulations for the industry, Stabenow noted that keeping the bill in a single committee streamlines its ability to reach the Senate floor for a wider vote. Now, listen, I mean, but we still don't know, other than, you know, the CFTC has said Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities to them. So this conversation sounds to me, coming from Rostin Benham, that they're looking to oversee Bitcoin and Ethereum because those are speculative assets. You know, now going to what Donnell Dixon said, that in fact stable coins are also commodities too, if, and these are big ifs, and we need to see what's going to take place here, if payment tokens like XLM and XRP that can really move and settle value damn near instantly get such a designation, should that fall under the CFTC? I certainly don't think it belongs under the SEC. So there is a lot to figure out here as of yet. And according to Senator Lummis, it would appear that it will be beyond January before we get the chance to truly find out. That's going to do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I wish I had better news, but I don't. But yet we onward and upward. That's where we're going. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. That's where we are on this day. I'll catch all of you on the next one.